Great. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's information session for our Learner Meets Future AI-enabled Assessments Challenge. Next slide, please. My name is Ellie Moriarty. I am the Senior Officer here at MIT Solve for our learning work. I'm really excited to get to know you all today, answer questions, and support you through this application process. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Eliza Berg, who leads our learning work here at Solve for more details.
Thanks, Ellie. Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. So as Ellie said, my name is Eliza. I lead the learning pillar here at Solve. And so we are the primary folks working on the Learner Meets Future Challenge. We're also joined by our wonderful consultant, Adam Santone, you're gonna see him a little bit later on in the session. And oh, I love the rooster. Jean-Jacques, thank you. Yeah, just a reminder for folks joining, can go ahead and keep yourself on mute and off camera just for now. We're going to have this portion of the session recorded so that we can post it for folks who aren't able to join. But I do love the energy of the rooster. So just to kick us off, I want to tell you a little bit about this challenge and who's involved. So as you have probably seen, this challenge is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We're so grateful for their support. Probably needs no introduction, but just wanted to also share that we're working in particular with the U.S. Programs Assessment Initiative. And so they're really interested in helping educators, schools, districts to effectively collect and utilize the right data on student progress. And of course, MIT Solve, we are an initiative of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We launch open calls by way of global challenges, and we're really looking for exceptional and diverse solutions and innovators through these challenges, and then we support them with funding and access to our community and experts. So really excited to have you all here for this. And I'll just pause for a second because I know some new folks are joining. Feel free to add your name and where you're calling in from in the chat. We'd love to get to know you a little bit better. So this challenge, Learner Meets Future, the AI-enabled assessments challenge, our call out to the world is how can we use AI to make assessments more personalized, engaging, and predictive for pre-K to grade 8 learners in the United States.
I want to make sure that may.
Awesome. So talking through the challenge dimensions here, just briefly for you all. So and I would encourage you to look on the site. I'm sure many of you have seen the full description already. But really the key components here that we're interested in and looking for are going to be AI-enabled solutions that improve the quality and equity of assessments that might be doing one or a combination of these following things. So thinking through how we could better analyze complex cognitive domains. So thinking about creativity, collaboration, argumentation, inquiry, design, self-regulation. AI tools are really well positioned to be able to do this instead of just skill-based items. Secondly, providing continuous feedback throughout the assessment process so that it's more personalized to learners and teachers while still highlighting strengths and areas for growth, and ideally based on individual learner profiles. So that's another area of opportunity we see here. Encouraging student engagement by boosting their confidence. For example, perhaps an assessment includes some playful elements or provides opportunities for trial and error so that they can really work through and make the assessment a learning opportunity in and of itself. So those are some of the dimensions that we've identified and look forward to seeing solutions that are addressing these areas. So at the same time, the Gates Foundation and Solve wanted to provide a little bit more context. So the two use cases that you've seen posted on the challenge description page are intended to give, two examples of potentially what we're looking for and what types of situations we want to see solutions designed for. So use case number one here is a solution that can be used in an existing assessment structure, but could better tailor assessment items to learner interests, could be tailored across curricular topics. It could even be tailored to a learner's own cultural context. So that's one use case here. Second use case is a solution that would score open-ended responses for quality features, could be across multiple areas such as subject knowledge or vocabulary, creativity, innovation, some of the items mentioned above, and that the solution would be able to analyze responses either in writing, submitted as transcripts of speech, and not noted here, but maybe even just submitted as speech. And then to talk through a little bit of the timeline here. So this challenge is open for just around 2 months. We launched on March 4th. It's open on the platform now. Hopefully many of you have already begun your applications. The challenge deadline is May 6th. So that is the very important date that we will underscore a few times throughout this process. It closes on the platform on May 6th. So you'll want to get your applications in by then. We will be going through the winner selection process May through July. So it's a pretty quick process. So finalists that are selected to move through to the finalist stage will be working with us likely through, I believe it's the end, throughout most of June. And then final selection will happen in early to mid-July. And then July to January of 2025, so about 6 months, there will be a support program in place that winners will receive funding and support to further develop their ideas and solutions. So very excited to share that the winners of this challenge will receive funding in addition to the support pieces. So there's a minimum prize pool right now of $250,000 in funding. We are selecting up to 8 winners. Should there be additional prize funding updates, we will be announcing those, so keep an eye out. And then, as I mentioned, the winning solutions are going to receive support throughout their development or piloting or scaling journey process, depending on what stage they are at. So this will likely include items like peer cohort meetings, workshops, coaching, and some tailored introductions. But more specific details on those activities are going to be provided at a later date as we get those solidified. I'm just going to pause here and see if there might be any questions on any of that material so far. And if not, I'll hand it over to Ellie.
Great. Thank you, Eliza. And I see some folks are asking questions in the chat, which is great. We'll also make a lot of time at the end. And I'll pause to answer any questions about eligibility, as I'm sure this is a section that a lot of you might need clarity on or just want to confirm some pieces. So to be eligible for this challenge, this is a wide call. We're really looking for applications from any stage of development. So even if you're really early in sort of pre-prototype, but you have a well-developed concept, we would love to hear from you. And also if you have a prototype or if you're more mature in your design of your solution, if you're already piloting at growth or at scale, you are also more than welcome to apply. So I would say when in doubt about the maturity of your solution, encourage you to apply, as this challenge really seeks early stage solutions. So you can be an individual that includes a student, a researcher. You can be part of a wider team, an organization, either a company or a university. We welcome solutions that are nonprofit, for-profit, hybrid, or even from folks who do not have a registered organization yet. Solutions must be, relevant to the United States pre-kindergarten through 8th grade context, and must be solutions, addressing assessments. So one piece that my colleague Adam will go into further detail on is to be eligible for this, your solution must be enabled by artificial intelligence. That's really a key component and interest area for this challenge. Additionally, we welcome applications from all over the world with a couple of restrictions. You can check out our frequently asked questions page for more details about that. However, like I said before, your solution must be relevant to the US context, and be designed to be applied within the United States, and your solution must be submitted in English in order to be eligible. So although we are looking for applications at any stage, we are especially interested in solutions that can be developed in pre-kindergarten through 8th grade classrooms in the US within the next couple of years. That's especially excited to us at Solve and to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Another important piece, and there's a lot more details about this piece in our frequently asked questions page, but winning solutions, so those up to 8 winners, must ensure they're fulfilling the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Global Access Initiative. So this requires that winning solutions must be made available and accessible at an affordable price in the US education system. Last but not least, we really are looking for solutions that address and support what we call priority learners for this challenge. And we've identified priority learners for this challenge as inclusive of Black and Latino learners and all learners experiencing poverty within the US context. I'll now hand it over to my colleague Adam to talk more about AI, and then we'll open up for some eligibility questions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm just talking a little bit about what we mean by an AI-enabled solution. So AI is a very broad area, and within AI, there are several subdomains, including machine learning, natural language processing, or NLP, computer vision, deep learning, which is associated with neural networks. And so these are some of the areas that you may lean into for your solution. There are others, and in a more applied way, there may be an opportunity to do something with robotics, with cameras, with areas like knowledge representation, cognitive computing, and speech recognition, among many others. We're really open at this stage, and so this is not an exhaustive or restricted list in any way. But we're open to areas like these and are excited to see what you come up with your creative ideas. So let me know if you have any questions about that, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Adam. Yes, we'll open it up if there's maybe a couple of eligibility questions, and then we can answer any others at the end, but wanted to address any pressing questions at the moment. Okay, well, we'll keep moving, and if there's any questions at the end, I'm sure if you are.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. Jean?
Hello. Okay. I am Jean-Jacques from Cameroon. Yes, Jean-Jacques. Yes, you can read it at Jean Jacques or Jean James. That's it. I am a native French speaker in Cameroon, and I have missed the French language clinic. So good for me to.
Yes. So we.
Now I am. compulsory to follow this to going to adapt. We are not professional in artificial intelligence. I was going to speak it in French, in artificial intelligence, but we have a broad knowledge of that, and we cannot put all this development of AI. You cannot know it, but we want to know if it is possible for you to accompany us when we are going to give our solution. Is it possible for you to guide us how to tell you about our application? Because we know a broad knowledge about AI, but we cannot go inside in an in-depth comprehension of that. Is it possible for you at a certain stage, knowing what our solution is going to do to help us, telling you the other in-depth characteristic of AE? Yes, thank you very much. This is the first question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Yeah, and just double checking, since I know you mentioned the application clinic in French, I believe you might be referring to the global challenges. So just to specify, this is for, in particular, the Learner Meets Future Challenge, which of course you are welcome to submit for as well. So to answer your question, which essentially is sort of getting at, if you don't have everything fully developed yet, especially as it relates to the AI component of your solution, can you still apply? The answer is yes. We currently don't have plans for sort of, supporting along the way, or responding to, drafts of applications or anything like that. But I will say that as you look through the application, a lot of those questions are going to have help text and going to have sort of explanatory information there that will be helpful as you think about filling out those specific questions. So I do encourage you to look through the application, and also noting that that is correct. We do not expect in all cases that you have everything figured out already. Really, the purpose of this challenge and being an open innovation challenge is to encourage and welcome solutions that are at an earlier stage, solutions that might have one component related to assessment or related to the AI kind of figured out, but need to put some other components together and need support in developing that idea. So I would still encourage you to apply. And I'm seeing here that Geeta said AI is in our roadmap, but not live yet in the beta version. Our experience has been that grants are looking for a more established product. Does this program specifically prioritize early stage solutions? And the answer is yes. So as we said, it is open to all stages, but yes, we are specifically looking for early stage solutions. So Geeta, you're in the right place. Back to you, Ellie.
Fantastic. And we'll make more time at the end for any other eligibility questions. But now let's talk through evaluation. So what I like to say, how your assessment solutions will be assessed by Solve and also our pool of expert reviewers and our judges for this challenge, who are some affiliated with MIT and other from external organizations as well. So in the process of applying, there'll be several rounds of evaluation. We'll take an initial screen of applications, do a more in-depth review, and then folks who advance to the finalist stage will go through an interview process with our judges as a final step. But for all of you, this is the initial criteria that we will be looking at when evaluating your solution. The first is alignment. So just how closely tied is your solution to what we're looking for in this challenge? Is it relevant to the different dimensions, or at least one of them that Eliza mentioned earlier? And is it applicable to the United States and transitional kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, or kindergarten through 8th grade priority learners. That's the first piece. I should also mention that on our frequently asked questions page, which I keep referencing, it's a great resource. We have some supporting additional information about what type of solutions might score higher and what might score lower for each criteria. Next, we have potential for impact. So this criteria looks at if the solution has the potential to improve the efficiency and the utility of pre-kindergarten through 8th grade assessments for learners and educators. So with this criteria, we'll really be looking at your theory of change and your evidence base for how you're supporting that your solution will actually address and improve the lives of learners. Our next criteria is feasibility and readiness. So this will be looking at if you have a realistic and practical plan for implementing the solution. Even if it's really early stage and you haven't reached any learners yet, still want to make sure that a plan is in place and that it's feasible and realistic given the context that you're operating in. If your solution hasn't already been piloted, we want to see that your solution has the potential to be piloted within the next 1 or 2 years. Innovative approach. This criteria really hits on what my colleague Adam was speaking about before. We are curious to see how you are using AI, if it's a newer or innovative type or application of artificial intelligence, but also that it's, relevant to the context you're operating in. So one thing that would be considered innovative is using an existing type of AI, but using it in a context or method that hasn't been used as much before. That's still considered innovative by our standards. And lastly, we'll be looking at inclusive human-centered design. So this criteria hits on a few different pieces. We want to make sure that your solution, even if in early stage, is being designed by, with, and for who we've identified as priority learners, including Black and Latino learners and learners living in poverty in the US, and their educators. We also want to see in your team lead and your organization makeup that you're demonstrating proximity to the community that you're serving with your solution, and that your team and the design of your solution embodies diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout all stages. So these are the first 5 criteria. I'll then go into the 2 additional pieces of criteria that we'll be looking at if you advance to the finalist stage, and then we can pause for a couple of questions. So with these 2 pieces, they'll be sort of tacked on as additional criteria to the 5 looked at earlier. So the judges will be curious to see how scalable your solution is. So if your solution can be scaled to affect and improve the universal experience of learners, does it have the ability to be, reach millions of learners potentially, scale beyond the initial user base? And so that piece will be looked at by the judges. Additionally, if you're selected as one of the up to 16 finalists, we'll be scoring on your technical feasibility. So we luckily have a panel of expert tech vetters who will be interviewing finalists, looking at their tech and assessing if it's built as you say it is, or designed to be implemented in the way you say it will be, and just making sure it functions in a way that is doable. So that is the criteria. I see that there's a few different questions happening in the chat here, but did want to pause if we have 1 or 2 questions where folks want to answer or ask live.
And one point of clarity for folks with these evaluation criteria, I know sometimes you can look at it, it might be a little intimidating, or especially thinking about things like scalability, technical feasibility, and some of these. Let me go back to these. Others, I do want to note, definitely, as Ellie said, look at the FAQ and sort of see indicators where a solution would score higher if XYZ on any of these, and just want to underscore that it does not mean, especially if you are at a concept stage, that you need to fully, have a plan for product development and implementation or anything like that. But if you can hopefully, thoughtfully explain in your application how you might start to think about things like feasibility and readiness, how you might think about moving into a prototype stage or a pilot stage, that is all very acceptable and encouraged. So definitely, keep that in consideration as you're thinking about these evaluation criteria.
Yes, thank you, Eliza. And one of the questions in the application gets at what specific types of support would you want if selected for this challenge? And so that's also definitely part of this as well. Great. So I think we can move forward a couple of slides here.
Ellie, just going to respond to
Oh,
Luciano.
yeah. Thank you.
How many hours does it take to complete this application? So we, I would say, a good few hours, maybe 2 to 3 hours. I always tell folks, take a look at the full application, take a look at all of the questions. Everyone's different, so depending on, how fast you are at writing things or drafting things, it might take you a shorter amount of time, but definitely spend a good few hours on it, I would recommend. But the questions are, as you will see, quite straightforward. We do encourage, concise, clear answers to those. As the reviewers are going through, they're going to be looking, for clear, concise answers. And then, where possible, providing links out to things that we might ask for, like, if you do have code, is there a way that you can submit it? We've provided that all in the application as well. All right, go ahead, Ellie.
Great. And Jean-Jacques, I saw you had, do you have an additional question? You can also ask.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My question is this: I have read that solution should be used in classroom. What about solution that could be used outside of the classroom? Is it eligible for the challenge? That's my question. Thank you.
Great question, Eliza.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my answer would be that so I think the purpose of this challenge is to eventually be implementing in classrooms, in pre-K through grade 8 classrooms in the United States. So with that in mind, knowing that is sort of the eventual area to work towards, if your solution currently is not implementing in a classroom, that is okay. So it's sort of hopefully this is a satisfactory answer. Essentially don't want to, say that you're not eligible if your solution is working outside of the classroom. But do take into consideration how it might be adapted or used in the classroom setting, because that is eventually going to be the desired output here. But that is, again, something that might come later down the line in your product development.
Awesome. So let's now just wrap things up with talking about actually working and on your application and submitting it, and then we'll open it up to everyone for any general questions. So the application comprises of questions that are marked required. You'll see that in red, and also some questions that are additional or optional. We find the most successful solutions have filled out the majority of the application fully, including those additional questions. And to be able to submit, you will have to at least fill out those required questions. The platform actually will not let you submit until you've done so. One very important piece, cannot stress this enough, the application does not automatically save. I remember being a student working on Microsoft Word, and my teacher would say, save, 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 and that is the case here. If you exit the page, it will not automatically save, and so I would encourage you to really regularly be saving. Additionally, some folks find it helpful to note down the questions and work on them in an additional platform, and then sort of copy and paste when they're ready to submit. But on that note, your session will automatically expire after 2 hours, I believe, of inactivity. So if you step away, save. I know I'm being redundant, but it is definitely a handy tip that will save you some time. On the note, especially if you're working in a different document, many of the questions have character limits, word limits. So definitely pay attention to that when crafting your answer, as you'll be unable to submit if it's past the character limit. And lastly here, the application has an option for you to submit videos from different platforms. So whether that's YouTube or Vimeo, just make sure the privacy setting is changed to public, so that whoever is reviewing your application will be able to watch and learn more about your solution that way. Next slide. So this is what the platform looks like, except your text will be more purple instead of green for this challenge. But this is what the platform looks like. You'll see here you have the option to edit each section. So even after you submit your solution, you'll have an opportunity to go in and edit even after you've submitted before the deadline of May 6th. When you edit, always make sure to save. Next slide, please. So this application has 3 different main sections. When you log in and create a profile, you'll first be asked to select the challenge that you're submitting to. So in this case, that'll be the Learner Meets Future AI-enabled Assessments Challenge. The first section you'll do is the solution overview and team lead details. This is really getting the initial sort of basic pieces about your solution along with your team lead. So your team lead, I know in many cases you might be working on this solution on your own, in which case it'll be you. But if you're working with a larger group, the team lead is someone who will sort of serve as the main point of contact and representative for your solution with Solve. So this should really be the leader or head developer of your solution. And it's someone who, if you advance to the finalist stage, they will be doing the pitch and sort of are the main leader director of the solution for our purposes. With these questions, keep in mind that some of them are public. So we have the intention of publishing all of your submitted solutions onto our site, and some are just for internal use only. So make sure if there's anything that you don't want publicly accessible, that it's not filled out in one of those publicly accessible sections. Second section is more details about your solution. This goes into a few different pieces, including the technology. And then the third section is your future plans. So looking at what you would want to get out of this program if selected. What are your future plans for potentially piloting your solution, et cetera, et cetera. Next section, please. Great. So you're welcome to work on your solution with a number of team members. Each person will have to make a profile for their solution, or profile, and then be added to the solution within the platform. So to go in, you'll have to edit your application and then search for that team member and make sure they're added to the solution page so they can edit it and also be represented as a team member on your solution page. And we touched on the team lead. This should be the person who will be the key representative of your solution if selected. Great. So yep, last but not least, really important to note the deadline is May 6th at noon. So not midnight, but the middle of the day, Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. Now the time zone has switched. And we really encourage you to submit your solution well ahead of the deadline. You can go back in and edit it, but really want to prevent any last minute sort of complications with getting your solution submitted. So always good to submit early. And as I said, you actually will not be able to submit if there's key pieces of your application missing. So make sure that when you click submit, it's actually submitted rather than having you edit and add to your solution page. And we will very likely be making your solution publicly viewable on our challenge page. You can see past solved challenges and how that looks with showing each solution listed. Great. And so soon we'll open it up for questions, but did want to say if you have any questions related to the platform itself and submitting, our help desk is really the best place to go. This is staffed by a few different members of our team and the fastest way to get an answer regarding your application. And then if you have any challenge specific questions related to eligibility, your solution, please feel free to reach out to me. There's my email listed and I can put it in the chat as well. But now let's open it up for questions. So if you want to use the raise hand function, that is probably the best way to get started, or we can also answer questions if they're put in the chat.
And I do see Luciano's question. Why is the solution publicly viewable? How can you protect your IP? Excellent question. So there's a wonderful response to this in the FAQ, but essentially everything that you put onto your application, any intellectual property, it is yours. There we have no intention of infringing on anything there. So that's why we say just keep in mind what you put in your application potentially is publicly viewable, except for those pieces that we indicate are not publicly viewable. So you are not do not need to put anything on there that you are not comfortable sharing in a public setting. It is worth noting right now that we are not making publicly viewable the submitted solutions just yet. So right now they are not being put onto the page. And some of the reason why we do this is because Solve is an open innovation platform. We really value the open innovation piece, and part of that is making solutions viewable to other folks. Mainly with the intent to be sharing wonderful ideas and never to be putting people in a position where they have to share things that they don't want to. So that's never an expectation. And let's go to Caitlin.
Hey, thanks. So I was hoping that you could talk a little bit more about winner support and kind of like from the program's perspective, like what do you envision as a successful outcome for a project's participation in the program? So is it moving it like one step closer to going into production? Is it like actually identifying like a business plan? Like what is the success of being like a participant if you get selected for the program?
Yeah, so that will definitely, I think, depend on the stage of the solution. And I should say we, I think, intend to select a range of stages. So hoping to have kind of a nice diverse cohort. There might be some solutions that are a little bit further along, and are very likely to be solutions that are very early stage. So our goal here is to help those winning solutions take the next steps to succeed. Ultimately, you know, to get to the point of being able to implement this solution in a pre-K 8 or some area within that range classroom to be able to, you know, pilot the solution with priority learners. The support program pieces, to be fully transparent, we are still finalizing. So we will have more information about that soon, but it is definite that there is funding. As I said, there's a minimum $250K prize pool. It is highly likely that there will be some workshops and some coaching that are really tailored to providing support for folks, depending on what level. Maybe you're at the concept level, so thinking about, okay, how do we actually take this forward to a prototype? Maybe you already have a working prototype, or maybe you're post-pilot and thinking about what are the next steps there. So hoping that, you know, intending that it will be very tailored to the stage that the solution is at. Great. Geeta, go ahead.
Hi, sorry to be asking this question without having read everything first. I wasn't originally thinking to apply because the AI isn't live in our solution yet. But since that's not a necessity, in the application, do we need to specify like how we would use any funding? Is there a budget that's created, or are there certain activities the funds can be used for specifically?
Great question. We do not have a specific question in the application that asks to put together a budget or anything like that. It is, I would say, likely that if selected, it's likely that if you make it to the finalist stage, that might be something that the judges, you know, ask you about, or kind of say like, where are you at? Have you, you know, what do you have sort of a plan for this? It is not, you know, not required. And I think that's something that if selected again, you know, we would be able to help you figure out and support you along the way in using that funding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I'm just going to scroll through the chat and make sure we got those. Go ahead, Caitlin.
I want to like give opportunity for those who haven't spoken, but so in terms of the sort of goal of the assessment, you know, there's like large scale assessment versus small scale assessment, and what you're developing for will have like different user groups, right? Whether the people using it will be, you know, the teachers versus like states or, you know, governing bodies. And so I was wondering, you know, if you, in kind of envisioning this program, if you have like a type of assessment you're primarily focused on or have emphasis for, or if, you know, there's flexibility in terms of supporting large versus small scale assessment.
There's definitely flexibility. Yeah, we kept it very open on purpose because we you know, wanted to, I think, invite the most solutions as possible. So we're not putting any types of parameters around, you know, we're looking specifically for, you know, this type of assessment. So I would say all welcome. I guess the only addition I would make to that is the use cases were sort of put there for a reason to kind of guide the thinking around where solutions would be, you know, most beneficial. So use that as a guide, but again, also very open. So we want to be as encouraging as possible to lots of different ideas here. Any other questions?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you very much to giving me the floor. My question now is to know if by not having headquarters of our team in the United States, we will jeopardize our application. Because right now we don't have anyone in our team. We can have someone later. I don't know, I'm going to check, but isn't going to jeopardize our application?
So this is a great question, great point of clarity. So ultimately, we are looking for solutions that can be implemented in the United States in the, as we said, priority learners in pre-K 8, grade 8 through that range. That does not mean that if you are not currently operating in the United States that you are ineligible. So the short answer is yes, you are still eligible. That being said, be sure in your application to be talking about how you might plan to implement in the United States, why you are well positioned to, what steps you would take in order to do that, because that is a key requirement of the challenge. Thank you, Jean-Jacques. Any other questions? Great. Well, Ellie and I are, we're going to close out the recording. Thank you all for being here. But if any folks are, lingering, we'll be here for the next 5 to 10 minutes or so if you have any questions.